Well, guys, that August Pokemon Presents has finally come and gone, and I gotta say, it is definitely pretty much exactly what I was expecting. There weren't really any surprises or anything that made me jump out of my seat. It was pretty much exactly what I expected, with updates about the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC, and stuff about Pokemon Masters, and things like that. Nothing really kind of insane, so I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10, but there are some pretty interesting things that they showed us here about the Scarlet and Violet DLC with the hidden treasure of Area Zero. And there's a lot of things here that I feel like some of you guys might have missed or not really caught on, so I feel like I should make a video kind of just going through some of the interesting things here, because it does give you some ideas for exactly what we could expect with this DLC, but also moving forward, as we know that there's going to be things inside of these DLCs that are going to hint towards the next Pokemon game, and it seems like we might have already seen some of these inside of the trailer. Alright, so heading to the official Pokemon website, there's actually a lot of details here about things that they didn't talk about inside of the Pokemon Presents. So the first thing that we've got here is actually mass outbreaks, which are going to be returning into the games. So it talks about here how mass outbreaks are a phenomenon in which many of the same series of the same Pokemon appear in a certain location. After the release of the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero Part 1, the Teal Mask, for Pokemon Scarlet or Violet, limited time mass outbreak events will begin, and during these events certain Pokemon will become more likely to appear. So yeah, you're going to be able to do it, and it seems like the first one is going to be a mass outbreak of Clefairy. So you're going to be able to do that from Thursday, September 28th to Sunday, October 1st. But yeah, it seems like they are going to add mass outbreaks back into the game, which is cool because it's a good way of catching Pokemon if you want to have like a certain type of Pokemon with a certain ability or nature and really try to train it. And either way, just having mass outbreaks is pretty fun. So it is pretty cool that they are adding that back, and they didn't talk about that in the Pokemon Presents. But now moving here to the other information. So it talked a little bit about this inside of the Pokemon Presents, but it says here that the story of the DLC is actually going to be an expanded story that's going to be connecting back to the Paldea region. And on top of your school trip in Kitakami and your studies abroad at the Blueberry Academy, the story of the hidden treasure of Area Zero will tie back into the Paldea region as well. So I feel like this is really going to tie into the actual crater of Area Zero, because that's really the only thing that is still kind of just a mystery in terms of Area Zero, is we don't really know exactly how everything kind of happened. Like where did those facilities that exist down there, the research labs, where did they all come from? Who founded all of it? Like where is all of the stuff in Area Zero even from, and what's the cause of it? And I feel like this is really going to go into it, because one of the cool things that they actually showed us at the end of the video for one of the trailers is that there's actually going to be more pages, it seems like, to the book, where they talked about the character Heath, who was the author of the book, and he discovered like mysterious Pokemon that were inside of the like Area Zero in terms of like the location. And of course in the Scarlet book or Violet book in the game, you can see like pictures of like Pokemon that are obviously going to be like paradox forms if you have the past version or the future version. But I just think it's going to be interesting to see exactly how they tie in everything and have it make sense. Now we've got some newly discovered Paradox Pokemon here as well. So it says here, newly discovered Paradox Pokemon will be appearing in the Paldea region. So we've got Raging Bolt here, which is of course based on Raikou, and then you've got Iron Crown here, which is obviously Cobalion. So this is cool because it seems like they're actually going to be doing these trios just depending on which version of the game that you have. So if you have Pokemon Scarlet, it seems like you're going to be getting every past Paradox Pokemon, which is going to be inspired by Gen 2's trio. So you're going to be seeing, we already got Suicune in the game, you're going to be getting Raikou inside of this DLC, and then I guess the other one is probably going to be Entei in the other DLC that's going to come out after, so that's cool. And then also we can see right here for Cobalion, we already got Virizion inside of Pokemon Violet from an event, and it seems like you're going to be getting Cobalion in one of the DLCs, and the other one is probably going to give Terrakion. Now the legendary Pokemon Terapagos actually has two forms. They teased one of these inside of the Pokemon anime, but it's interesting because there's going to be a Terapagos normal form, which is actually like that little mini baby turtle version that we got to see before. But the one that they've actually advertised with us on like the actual artwork for the DLC and stuff seems to be its terrestrial form. So it's not like an evolution or something, it just seems like it's a whole new different form that it gets when it terrestrializes. And it's also going to be interesting to see what type this Pokemon is, because it has symbols for every type. Like you got fire here, water, ice, steel, like every icon is there. So it will be very interesting to see how this Pokemon works. Now there's going to be a Battle League club inside of the second DLC as well here, where they talk about how there's going to be blueberry points that you can get here known as BP, And once you do this, you can use the club room computer to actually decorate the room that you want to, so you can get like different styles and stuff, which is pretty nice. But you can also invite special guests that include the gym leaders from the game. So this makes a lot of sense, because one of the things that you got to do inside of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet after you beat the game was you got to rematch all the gym leaders, but a lot of people didn't like how you could only just battle them once again, and then after that you weren't able to rematch them. So this is going to be the way that you can rematch. It does suck that it's kind of locked behind paid DLC, but it is nice that you're going to be able to battle the gym leaders again if you wish to. Now these characters here are going to be the Blueberry Academy's Elite Four. And one of the things that they also talked about here is that there's actually going to be this flying feature, which honestly this makes me a little sad, because this is one of the complaints that I had about Scarlet and Violet, which is that flying was just terrible on Koraidon and Miraidon, because you weren't actually able to fly. You kind of had to go to like a high mountain or something and then jump off and be able to glide, whereas in like Pokemon Legends Arceus on Hisui and Braviary, you could just press the plus button and immediately go into the sky and fly around as much as you wanted. So I was like, I really wish that there was a way to actually fly, and it seems like they're going to be locking that behind paid DLC, which is horrible, but I guess it is nice that it's finally coming into the game. But in terms of the actual like Elite Four here of the Blueberry Academy and like the league that they've got here, the interesting trainer that I want to talk about here real quick is this character Drayton. Now it's pretty easy to tell that this character Drayton seems to be very similar to the character Drayden from the Unova games with Pokemon Black and White. And they did say that, like with Riddler Coup, he was talking about how one of the characters in the DLC is going to tease a lot and be very important in the next Pokemon games. So the fact that this character is very Unova inspired, it seems like he's based around Drayden, like the name is literally Drayton. It seems like he uses Dragon Pokemon as well, and we'll talk about his signature Pokemon when we get to it, because there's actually something really interesting about that Pokemon as well. Now they're adding mini games into this DLC too, which is really cool, because you're finally going to be able to do some of those like fun mini games that were in past Pokemon games, and you didn't really have that many inside of the base game for Scarlet and Violet. So there's like this balloon popping one where if you do that with Koraidon and Miraidon, they give you like this Moochie, I think, which is going to be like candy, and you can actually use that to train your Pokemon in terms of its EV stats, where like if you give it a lot of attack up candy, you can do that to boost its EV for attack. There's even one to reset the EV, so it seems like this is just going to be a much faster way to do EV training instead of like relying on like the berries and doing the way that we have currently. So that's pretty cool. And there's also ways to be able to like have different ways to taking photos now. There's like a roto stick now where you can have like better selfies. You can even direct some of your Pokemon to stand still and do certain poses so that you can get even better screenshots of them, and you can share photos and stuff as well. So that's pretty cool that they're adding some extra little features. Alright, now here's one of the more interesting characters right here. So this is actually going to be another mini game where you're actually going to be taking photos of certain Pokemon. It's kind of like a mini Pokemon Snap just built into it. But the character that we have around all of this is very, very interesting. Besides looking super cute, there's actually something really interesting about this character that some of you may have noticed, which is that this character seems to be a direct relative or descendant to the character Adaman from Pokemon Legends Arceus. Like, they're not even trying to hide it here. Like, you can see here with the brown eyes and even the exact same hair colors with like the 3 different colors that are based around it. Perrin here, the character, is definitely based around the character Adaman. So it's interesting because I wonder what exactly that could mean. Like, does this mean that they're teasing like another Legends style type of game, or is it just like a fun coincidence for people who can figure that out? I don't know, but either way, I think it's just really cool that you can see that the characters from Pokemon Legends Arceus are still living on in terms of their descendants in terms of the future games, which is really cool to see. Now, when it comes to the Teal Mask DLC, we actually get to see the terrestrialized form of Ogrepon here, but it's really interesting because it seems like this is a very different type of terrestrializing, as it doesn't really have an icon for what type it's terrestrializing into, and it seems like it's a whole other different form too. So this seems like it's going to be what was kind of rumored by Riddler Coup, is that there's actually going to be unique terrestrialized forms, where this Pokemon has like a special form that it gets when it terrestrializes. So that is going to be interesting because it's different from what we have here. So this is actually going to be like the signature Dynamaxes that you had with like the Gigantamaxes inside of Pokemon Sword and Shield. You had like these special signature Z moves that certain Pokemon got inside of Pokemon Sun and Moon, and then you had like these special Pokemon like signature forms for Mega Evolution. So we didn't really have anything like that for Gen 9, where it was just every Pokemon becomes like this crystallized form, but it seems like now we're finally going to be getting like exclusive crystallized forms that are going to be for certain Pokemon only. And finally, the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is actually something that's not on the English website because I wasn't able to find it, but it's the brand new Pokemon that they showed us here inside of the video, where we can actually see here that they talked about some of the new Pokemon that are going to be appearing, and there's actually a new evolution here for Applin, as well as a brand new form, or actually an evolution for Duraludon. Now, this is interesting because Riddler Koo did say that one of the DLCs is actually going to pander a lot in terms of a certain region, and I think he even said it was going to be specifically the second DLC, and one of the options that he put in his poll where he was talking about that was Unova and Galar. A lot of people thought Unova because, you know, the next games are teased to be Unova, but it seems like what he's talking about is that this second DLC is going to pander a lot to Gen 8 with Galar stuff, but there's also some really interesting things that they talked about here with these Pokemon. So this Pokemon right here, I think is actually called Archulaldon or something like that in terms of the English version. We don't have the English website updated for this for some reason, which is so weird, but the interesting thing that people have noticed is that this Pokemon is a bridge. Like you can see right here that this Pokemon is inspired by a bridge, and of course Duraludon was a building, so you've got the building which evolved into the bridge, but the interesting thing is that this is the signature Pokemon of the trainer who was Drayton, who was inspired by Drayden, and here's the crazy thing. If this Pokemon is like a bridge, it's very similar to the Driftwell drawbridge that was inside of the Unova game. So I feel like if the signature Pokemon of the trainer who's inspired by a Gen 5 Unova trainer is also now using a Pokemon that's inspired by a very important location in Gen 5, it really feels like to me that they're teasing that Gen 5 Unova stuff is going to be happening next. So yeah, it does get me pretty excited, and I mean, there's probably even more, like there's probably even more stuff to it, but they did say that one of the characters in the Scarlet and Violet DLC is going to play a heavy role in terms of the next Pokemon games, and so if it is going to be a Unova game next, then maybe this character Drayton is going to appear inside of it, and now it gets me pretty excited to think about what exactly that game could be like, because it's supposedly going to be like a futuristic Unova or like a Paradox Unova type of game, and not just like a remake of Black and White, so I can't really wait to see what they come up with. But yeah, there you go guys, that is pretty much all the information that we have from the Pokemon Presents about the Scarlet and Violet DLC. If you guys enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to click that like button and also subscribe to the channel as well, as I'm going to be talking more about Pokemon, so definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Comment down below and let me know how you guys feel about the Pokemon Presents. Were you happy by it? Were you disappointed by it? How do you guys feel about the Scarlet and Violet DLC and everything? Definitely let me know in the comments down below. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros. And Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.